Today in Canada, we celebrate our 150th birthday. Whether you are going to various parades, parties, and outdoor events, or are just staying home with your loved ones, even those watching the celebrations on TV or are working hard. From St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, British Columbia, to Windsor, Ontario to Alert, Nunavut, we here at Autism 30 would like to wish you a very happy Canada Day and are thankful that we live in such a diverse, wonderful, and inclusive country.
I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the stranger than. I'm an autism awareness angel. It's good, cause I'm cool with the unique behavior. I'm an autism awareness angel. Will you accept me? Cause I accept you. I'm an autism awareness angel, cause a view from the spectrum is a better point of view. The question at hand.
Hello, I'm Tally, and welcome back to Autism 30. Today on our podcast, we are speaking with Miss Mackay from Bounding Higher Autism Treatment Services and Training Center, located at the beautiful Pacific Autism Family Network, or PAFN's Good Life Fitness Hub, located in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada, where we are also recording this podcast. She is a board-certified behavior analyst, a registered speech-language pathologist, and a clinical instructor at the University of British Columbia in the Speech Sciences Department. She started working with children with autism in 2003. Megan has worked in nonprofit child development center assessing and treating young children with a variety of developmental delays before specializing in autism and later working exclusively with children and teens with autism. During that time, she also started a small consulting business to supervise other professionals working towards their certification and has recently started to expand. Her passion lies in working with children with autism and training other professionals to become certified. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, thank you.
Now, what is Bounding Higher Autism Treatment Services and Training Center?
Bounding Higher is a treatment program dedicated to providing quality programs for young children with autism and to provide supervision for professionals wanting to work with children with autism.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Bounding Higher uses the principles of ABA, or what you call applied behavioral analysis, to teach young kids.
Which is wonderful. And I heard that's scientifically based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of is the most effective treatment methodology for kids.
Yes. And now, what other services do you offer?
So we offer services for kids from about 1 year old, or whenever they get the diagnosis, to about the age of 9, depending on their level of functioning. So what we do is offer an all-inclusive program for kids that are 6 years, under 6 years. And this means that you get a behavior consultant.
Yes.
You get behavior interventionists. You get a speech language pathology service provider, and you also get occupational therapy consultation. So we offer all of that for our kids that are under 6. And then we also offer a modified program for kids that are over the age of 6, where the autism funding changes.
Yes.
And you can sort of tailor your services a little bit more at that age. And so you can have speech language services, or even a junior consultant and BI services.
Yes, because I know that the funding from the British Columbia government clearly changes at the age of 6, for those of you out there that aren't aware of that fact yet.
Yeah, it goes significantly down on the cost that you're available to you.
Now, another question that I had is, you said that upon children's diagnosis, which means children must receive a diagnosis before coming to your services, correct?
They wouldn't have to have a diagnosis. All the kids in our center currently do have a diagnosis. It's a fairly expensive treatment program, so most kids do have a diagnosis before they come.
But you in your location don't diagnose?
I don't diagnose. No, there's lots of facilities that you can get the diagnosis done at. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, what autism theories do you use and why?
I'd say we have more of a modern outlook on principles and theories. So we use ABA techniques, But we teach using a balance of naturalistic play, developmental approaches, and then we'll use more traditional discrete trial training if it's needed. But what we do is that we believe children learn best through play,
Yes.
and when reinforcement is as natural as possible. So some specific theories that we use to guide our treatment are like the Early Start Denver model,
Yes.
pivotal response training, and Hannon principles as well.
Yes, which are all different autism titles of theories
Yeah.
that are actually out there on the internet that if people wanted to research more about that, they can clearly go online and look those up.
You can definitely search those up, and they're evidence-based. They
Yes,
do show that they work
absolutely.
with kids with autism. Yeah, so that's we try to go away from the traditional ABA, sitting at a table, using cards. If we need to do that, we will do that, but we adapt ourselves to be able to see how well the child in particular learns, and will accommodate the child's learning style.
So correct me if what you're saying is you really give an individual learning plan, let's say, for their autism treatment.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what you were saying before is when people actually come to your services, that they're offered all these wonderful people that work with their children. And you mentioned a behavior consultant. Can you please elaborate what a behavior consultant is?
Sure. So, behavior consultant is an expert in teaching others to learn and to change their behavior. The amount of education and experience can vary significantly from behavior consultant to behavior consultant. Typically, they have some form of education and experience in applied behavioral analysis and some other types of teaching instruction methods. But the title of behavior consultant is not regulated.
Yes.
So it's up to the parents to check out what their consultant's background, what kind of background that they have.
And I think that's a really important thing for parents to note.
Definitely, because they can vary quite a bit. And actually, behavior consultant is mostly just used in British Columbia. It's not a term often used in other places.
Yes.
So now we're actually starting to see some people call themselves behavior analysts rather than behavior consultants, or they'll use them somewhat interchangeably.
Interesting.
Yeah. And behavior analyst or board certified behavior analyst is a regulated title. So that means that the individual has a master's degree in a related field. They've completed some training in the guidance, under the guidance of a supervisor, and they've passed an exam, and they have to continue with doing continuing education.
And that's really important to note. So if parents out there are wondering about the difference between titles, between a behavior analyst and a behavior consultant, those two vary differently in what their qualifications to do both jobs really entail.
Right. They could be the same. I mean, you can get a behavior consultant who's not certified, who's very skilled at what they do. But that board certified behavior analyst gives you the confidence that you know that they are educated and they are held up to a certain standard.
Absolutely. You also mentioned another title working with their children who are behavior interventionists. Can you please elaborate on what a behavior interventionist is?
Sure. A behavior interventionist is an individual, or we often call them BIs,
Yes.
is an individual that works one-on-one with a child to complete the programs that were made by the behavior consultant. BIs are similar to like a teacher's aide or educational assistants in the school systems. They sort of work in the same way as a teacher and assistant would. The behavior consultant is overseen by a BI. So a BI has to be 19.
Yes.
They have to have passed a criminal record check, which is important.
Yes.
And again, they can vary quite a bit in their education and experience. And a good one can really improve the learning outcomes for your kid.
Absolutely. I know that the ones that I've worked with my child certainly have, so I actually agree with you.
Yeah.
And what about a speech language pathologist?
So a speech language pathologist is an expert in communication. So areas like language comprehension, which is the ability to understand language, and then there's language production, which is the ability to use language, and that can look in several different ways in terms of using words, sentences, or even devices. There's also articulation. So that's the ability to pronounce words.
Yes.
And then pragmatics, which is the ability to use language in social interactions with others.
Now, that's really important to note. So, because I know an awful lot of people don't really understand what a speech and language pathologist does, but you've clearly elaborated on the different skill sets that are being taught to children through speech language pathology. And what about occupational therapists? What does an occupational therapist do?
Bounding Higher works with what Little Buddies Pediatric Therapy, and that's where our occupational therapists come. So this is information I got from them to better define what an occupational therapist does than me. But occupational therapy is the science of enabling engagement in everyday living through occupation. And so when we're talking about kids, occupation is play.
Nice.
And so OTs, is what we usually call them, use play as a medium to encourage building relationships and developing their skills. So OTs look at things like self-care,
Yes.
so feeding skills, dressing, toileting, productivity, things like printing and drawing,
Yes.
leisure activities, so play and social interaction with peers, participating in sports and hobbies, and social engagement as well. And speech pathologists and occupational therapists, like the board certified behavior consultant, also both have master's degrees, have to pass professional exams, have practicums they have to complete, and as well as the ongoing continuing education requirements as well. So they're all three, board certified behavior consultant, a speech language pathologist, and an occupational therapist, are highly regulated and well educated individuals.
And that's great to note. So parents out there, please follow suit on what Miss Mackay said on what each of those titles actually is and what their qualifications are, which is really important for you to actually check up on that. Now, how do you determine what treatment is appropriate for an individual?
So like we talked about a little bit before, and at Bounding Higher, each child is assessed and an individual plan is made. So we have a couple different assessment tools that we can use to assess where the child's functioning at. Then the goals are chosen by a combination of what we find on the assessment and also what the family says that they need to do or they need help with.
That's really important. So you actually get the family involved in what is decided for that
Absolutely,
child.
we do. Because the assessment tool can tell me all kinds of things that we can work on. But what really important is what the family needs and what we need to get happening right now. So, for example, if the family really wants to work on toileting to get ready for kindergarten, okay, well, let's make that a priority and let's work on that right now.
That's great news for a lot of us out there.
Yeah. And then how we also monitor things is that we also always take data. And so we determine the treatment based on the data. So if we see that a child's not making progress in a particular area, then we'll change it. We'll change the way we're interacting with them. We'll change what we're doing so that we always can see some progress happening.
So you're constantly evaluating your own progress and your own work to better help the child, which is
constantly
great news.
Adapting. Yeah.
And what does a typical week, month, year look like at your establishment for the child?
So typically kids come for about 10 hours a week with a behavior interventionist. So some kids come every day, some kids come a few days a week. But our center is a center-based program. And the behavior consultant and the speech language pathologist go into the sessions with the BIs a few times a month. And one advantage of their center program is that the behavior consultants and the speech language pathologists are always available. So if a BI needs some help or something's not going right or something is going right and they want to celebrate,
Yay!
they can always come and get them. And they're right there
great.
for help. Yeah, yeah.
And what type of facilities do you have here?
So we're lucky in that we're in the Pacific Autism Family Network.
Yes, you are.
Good
This
Life
is a
Hub.
beautiful facility.
It is an awesome building. It's brand new, so everything's brand new.
Yes, you are lucky to be in this beautiful facility because this whole entire building was thought of with people with autism in mind. So you know as a parent when you're walking into this building that there really isn't one aspect of this establishment or building that will bother your child in a sensory way, because of the fact that the people who built this building really consulted with the autism community. And if you'd like to learn more about this, you can listen to the podcast dated April 1st and 2nd with the wonderful creators of this building, Wendy and Sergio, who I know the British Columbian community is ever so grateful to them and what they've done for us here. But continue on what facilities you have here.
Yeah, so Bounding Higher kind of looks like a preschool would. It's one big room with lots of toys, different learning centers, carpets to sit on, tables to go sit at if they want to. And we also are lucky in that because the building was created for kids with autism, we also have 2 playgrounds outside.
And they're beautiful.
Yeah, they're really nicely done with that soft, I don't know what it's called, but the underlay underneath the playgrounds is really soft, so if they fall, they don't hurt themselves.
It's completely safe.
Yeah. And then we also have some like breakout areas too. So if a kid needs a bit of a break or some quiet time, we can go there as well.
I know, those areas are really great.
Yeah.
I was really impressed when I saw those. And do you work with any specialized toys and games in particular?
So we have lots of high quality toys, and at Bounding Higher we strive to get like wooden toys whenever possible, environmentally friendly products when possible. But we don't really have a lot of specialized toys, because what we want to do is teach children to learn to play and then be able to play with other kids.
Absolutely.
So we want them to use everyday stuff.
Which is really important.
Yeah.
And how are parents involved?
Parents typically drop their kids off because it's a center-based program, but we're always welcome parents to come in. So if parents would like to learn a skill, they can come in with their BIs and they can participate and do the skill right along beside them. We also, what we like to do is to help parents out a little. Is typically we'll teach the new skill first at the center, and then we'll encourage the parents to try it at home. So it just makes things a little bit easier that way, and that because they've already learned it once, and then it's easier to transfer at home. But parents are always welcome to come in whenever they want to have a quick look, or just come in to actually work on programs.
And that's really good to know, because I know that I've learned an awful lot from my BIs
Absolutely.
that have worked with my child, and I think it's really good to learn from the knowledge that you would have and then take it home and then put that into practice. So you're kind of working doubly to reinforce the skills that you learn within the center. So that's great news.
We also have regular family meetings as well. So we'll all sit together and we can talk about programming and where we want to go and what parents want to do at home. And the behavior consultants are also always open to whenever the parents have any questions or they want some help with something or some guidance in a particular skill, they can always contact their behavior consultant.
Which is great. So correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying, you really work as a team with the family, the BI, the interventionist, and the other people at your center with the child.
We definitely try to.
And do you work with other preschools in the area?
We don't have a particular preschool that we work with, but we're happy to work with any professional really, or any organization that the child attends. A coordinated approach is always the best for any kid to maximize learning. So we're happy to work with anybody who's involved with a kid.
Absolutely, and that's great. Now, what type of supervision do you offer?
So there's a couple different ones. So as per the RASP, I don't know if everyone knows, but there's 2 different levels of behavior consultants. So there's behavior consultant A, which is an independent, doesn't have to be overseen by anybody. And there's a category B level of behavior consultants, and they need to be supervised by somebody else. So I'm an A, and I supervise level Bs. So that's part of supervision. And actually it works for speech language pathologists as well. There's different levels of speech. So if speech pathologist needs supervision according to the RASP, I can do that as well.
That's great news.
And then there's a different category as well. So then there's professionals who are looking to become certified. So become a board certified behavior analyst, or the board certified assistant behavior analysis, and I can provide those supervision hours as well because I'm trained and have all the right certifications for that.
Wonderful. Now, what are the cost of your services?
So all the costs can be billed to the autism funding.
So you're talking about the autism funding unit in British Columbia, the one that allows parents to have money.
Yeah, through MCFD. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
You said it better than I did today. Absolutely.
Yeah, so everything can be billed directly to them. Everything in the program is already been pre-approved or certified by the RASP. And so I have an all-inclusive program, which we talked about earlier, that includes speech, BC, BIs, and OT, and that fits within the funding. So for the under sixes,
yes,
they're $22,000 per year. It all fits within that.
That's great.
And then the over sixes, we can just do an adjust to what the funding to work within the funding. So we'll sort of, do how much speech do you want? We make it as fit under the funding.
We'll that's great.
We can cater it to fit within the funding.
And still keep a meaningful program for the child.
Yeah.
Wonderful news. Now, you obviously love your work, but what do you love in particular about your work?
I really love to work with children. I love it when kids are able to accomplish something and that you're part of helping them get there, and that just makes you feel really good.
As a former teacher, I completely agree, and I don't think you can explain that feeling any better than you just exactly have it, and your face says it all. So I have the joy of sitting here and watching the glow in your eyes when you're talking about that, and unfortunately out there you do not, but it's clear that you're passionate about your work. And what would you love the world to know about autism?
I think that with hard work and a caring support team, that all children can learn and all children can thrive.
And that was beautifully put. Well, I want to thank you, Megan, for joining us today. It's obviously you really care about the children in your care, and you really are passionate about your company. You've explained your work and your company very well here today, and we appreciate the time that you're giving to Autism 30 to do that.
Thank you for having me.
And if you want to contact Megan and Bounding Higher, you can find all of their contact details on our webpage at autism30.com. And once you're there, if you have any questions for our Parent Talk panel, don't forget to click the word contact and send those in. We love answering them. We hope at Autism 30 that all of you out there are having a wonderful 150th Canada Day. This is Tally telling you to live in love.
Hey yo, I'm an autism awareness angel, making sure my wings protect the different, the strange.